The key to small business success is maintaining strong relationships with your customers. Constant Contact has been helping small businesses do just that for over 25 years. With their robust suite of email and digital marketing tools, you don't have to be a marketing pro to find customers, build relationships, and grow your business. And with all the data you need at your fingertips, it's easy to see what your customers respond to. Start building, expanding, and nurturing your customer base to drive better results. Go to ConstantContact.com to get started for free today.
Ladies and gentlemen, RotoGrinders, welcome back to the Week 13 DFS Roundup here on Grinders Live. My name is Alex Dunlap. I am the editor-in-chief at rosterwatch.com. I am the host of Roster Watch on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio Saturday nights. So tonight, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern, and the Game Day edition, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern on Sunday mornings. Joining me as always, my co-host here on the Roundup. He is live from NYC this week, where I believe he is a +1 to his own mother's draft live final. I can't believe it. He has DFS in the DNA. He is TheSeige, CJ Kaltenbach. Siege, what's going on, brother?
Not much, man. Enjoying New York City. It's been a fun couple days, and gonna be a fun couple more.
Well, we were DMing last night, and I wasn't sure whether your mom passed the DNA on to you or whether you're the one helping her out, or maybe as is the case with so many things in life, maybe it's a little bit of both.
I mean, it's definitely got she definitely watches our show. She definitely is a RotoGrinders member, and so Tactics member. So I'm gonna say that I'm gonna take most of the credit, but I mean she's here and I'm not. So I mean I can't talk too much crap. I guess.
She must have passed down some of those smarts. Well,
yeah, it's being the keyword there.
it's a big Week 13. Of course, in season-long leagues, we have our playoffs to fight for, but it's a big slate in DFS as well. There's a lot of ways you can go on this slate. I think I personally – Siege, how do you see – before we get into any of the clips for this week, how do you see lineup construction going this week? Do you like the way I see it? It seems like people are going to, for once, maybe try to pay down at running back. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, that's how I see it. I think though, as the week's gone on, I think people have talked themselves into paying up more at running back, and I think this is a case of what everyone was thinking earlier in the week was the right approach. And I think that we should be paying down a bit at running back this week. But I mean, there's a couple good options at the top, so I understand, being drawn into some of the top plays. I just think the top end wide receivers are just so good this week. I just don't want to get too cute with it.
I felt myself being called by those familiar sirens to pay up at running back. So maybe you'll have to talk me off it after at the beginning of the week. It was something that I wasn't even thinking of. But if you haven't watched the show before, what Siege and I do is we go through 6 clips that are selected by our producers, Simon Edwards and Dan Bach, who's the boss man around here. Our producer David throws the clips up, and then Siege and I give our takes about the different takes from the different hosts and analysts here through the week on RotoGrinders. Just kind of a roundup of all the different hot takes, and we kind of give our thoughts. We also make our bets with each other. Last week, we split them right down the middle.
What were they? I was totally thinking about that. I didn't remember what they were.
It was all right. Well, we were both huge donks. You wanted to take Michael Thomas over Julio Jones.
Oh God!
And then I wanted to take Kareem Hunt over Tevin Coleman. So we were both.
That's right, Coleman versus Hunt. Yeah.
So we split them. You're either up still 6 or 7 units. You say 7, I say 6. We still need to get that figured out. All right, cool. So you're still up 6 units on me. Hopefully we'll get that dwindled down a little bit here as the season runs out. I don't remember your bold call. I think my bold call might have been good though, because
mine was Tevin Coleman related. That's I remember that. I never remember my bold call. I need to write it down one of these weeks. I never remember it.
Mine was that the Millionaire Maker lineup was going to have a bunch of these Rams stacked up with Kamara bringing it back. I'm not sure that was exactly right, but I think it was pretty close to right. I know the Kamara was on the Millionaire Maker team, and I think they had Cubs, so a little bit right.
I'll give you close enough.
Yeah. But so do you want to go ahead and get any other overall kind of thoughts on the slate or NYC living or anything like that before we get started?
Let's roll into some clips. We've got some egregious takes this week. We gotta calm the people down.
We got some zingers, and this one is I told Dan and Simon, I was listening to the absolutely epic early week podcast this week, and I said, dude, this is a tape we got to get on here because it's my it's my most golden, dearest son. This is a take that comes from Grant, Bobby Fi, and JM to Win about one of the most sickest beasts in the whole National Football League making his return, the Anaconda. Let's get to it.
I think that this is just a spot where I have to wait to see what ownership's going to be like, because if other people are going to be on him, which could be the narrative, then I might have to go off him. But 4,100, a guy that can 2 years ago would basically just go up for the ball anytime and pretty much take it down. He's one of the most talented wide receivers in the entire NFL from when he was there. I'm assuming if you're not drinking and you're not smoking and you're not doing drugs, you're probably going to be in better physical shape than he was before. He's been training for the last 6 months with other people, so it's not like he's completely out of NFL shape. I just think that there's a spot where Hayward's going to be more on Coleman because he's the guy that's more acclimated to the offense. So that leaves him with the second best quarterback in the offense, or the third best quarterback in the offense, that I don't think is going to be able to do that much against a guy that's this physically gifted.
That is fair. I mean, I think that this will gain traction just because people will be scared to miss out on a monster game. Bobby, Josh Gordon, what if I tell you he is 15% owned? How interested are you in him this week?
25% owned-ish. I'm interested. I believe in the guy. I think it's it's 4,100 for a guy that has upside that's ridiculous. Maybe it's too soon, but I'm willing to take that chance probably at if he's 15% owned. Again, things might open up. Somebody else might pop out who might get a bigger role or something. But as of right now, I would say that's right where I'm at. I think that there's just very little. You're not going to find guys at this price range usually that have this kind of upside.
The mystical, the magical Black Anaconda. He will slither in and asphyxiate your fantasy opponents. Siege thinks that with any kind of snake ownership, one thing you need to worry about is the snake turning on you and asphyxiating you. Is that what do you think? What do you think this week, Siege? Are you gonna be deploying Josh Gordon, who's just an epic beast at only 4,100?
I can't do it. And this just comes down to believing that the Chargers are not stupid and they're going to put Casey Hayward on them. Like, I understand the whole world's projecting Corey Coleman, but this is a team that thinks they're going to win the West, as we were talking about off air. Like, Josh Gordon is the superior talent. And so if he's the superior talent, like at that point, he's going to go ahead and they're going to put their best corner on him. So for me, it's definitely a situation where I think I'll go ahead and assume that he's going to get the shadow coverage and take a fade on Josh Gordon.
And I just want to look up. I know that Trevor Williams has been really good this year too. Trevor was just. I wanted to see. I think that Casey Hayward. No, they're the same height. I was going to say that Trevor Williams might be a better fit there on Corey Coleman, just because of. I thought that Casey Hayward was a little bit taller than 5'11", but yeah. I mean, I think we all know that Casey Hayward's better. You looked on the RotoGrinders matchup chart. I looked at the PFF matchup chart. Both have Casey Hayward shadowing Corey Coleman. This is a case where I disagree. I don't, I've watched enough football. I'm an expert at this stuff too. I just disagree with what they think. And I think it is going to be Casey Hayward as well. That's what any sensible person would do as a coaching staff. So for me, it's like, I want to get him in so bad. And if I swear to God, dude, if I don't have any Josh Gordon and I see him streaking down the sidelines and he goes for 2 touchdowns and over 100 yards or something like this, I'm literally going to want to jump off a bridge. Because
he's a freak. Like, he could absolutely do that, right? Like, no one's saying that he's not going to do that. Like, let's be clear. Like, I just think I would play D.D. Westbrook first. It's just that's what that really comes down to me, is they're the same price. I even would play Josh Reynolds first. Like, Josh Reynolds took the Robert Woods role. Like, I would rather play Josh Reynolds first.
Well, can we talk about Josh Reynolds at only 3,500? I wasn't sure that we were going to get a take on this because it isn't any of our takes, but why is nobody talking about this? I mean, whenever I first heard about this, I think we even broached the conversation of Josh Reynolds on this Saturday's show last week. I know on my Sunday show, by Sunday morning, even before Ian Rappaport tweeted out that he would be taking over the Robert Woods role, I had even started to get an inkling that this could be a Josh Reynolds game. This is a guy who we did an immense amount of scouting on. We even did the stuff where we tracked, sensors in his pads. Like, his speed is unbelievable. His explosiveness, his amount of explosive movements over short periods is unbelievable. And what have we said, man, the last 2 weeks? When we know they're good players, when it's a Bruce Ellington, when it is a D.D. Westbrook, and it's on the opposite side of the guy that is getting the Patrick Peterson coverage, and we have intelligence that tells us that this is an unbelievably, really, really good player, we get that player in, and we get that same situation this week with Josh Reynolds. We saw getting 80% of snaps last week, 6 targets. He's already got a touchdown. He's basically a Mike Evans Jr. For 3,500, to me, it's an insta-call, insta-click. I'm getting him in first, and I'm seeing how that allows me to pay up for other guys. This is a week where I want to pay up at tight end to do some other things. So I completely agree with Josh Reynolds. I'm 100% on board with it. Like you said, you're a lot more of a tournament guy than me. I'm more of a cash guy. I don't make a million lineups, but in my 4 or 5 tournament lineups I'm going to make this week, he's going to be in most, if not all of them. I think the savings is absolutely outstanding that he provides. You also said that you like Dede this week. We're going to get to that because there's another take from another show, but it is not the next take here. This next take is particularly terrible and egregious. This one comes from the Football Guys show with Tip and Pick, Austin Lee, and Dan Bach right here on Grinders Live. This is Tip and Pick talking about the wide receiver that he thinks is the best point per dollar play this week versus a terrible Tampa Bay Buccaneers secondary.
John, I'm going to give you this one. Green Bay wide receiver with the highest expected point per dollar this week on DraftKings. Who is it? Adams at 6.5, Jordy at 4.4, or Cobb at 3.9 against those pitiful Tampa Bay Buccaneers corners.
It's got to happen sooner or later. The talent is there. You got to be thinking they're working on this in Green Bay. It's going to be Jordy Nelson. Who's it going to be, Austin?
Adams.
At point per dollar.
At point per dollar, even point per dollar. Yeah, it was a tough call between Adams and Cobb, but Nelson was not even a consideration.
Okay.
Wow.
We'll remember this next week.
4.4 for Jordy Nelson. What world are we living in? Didn't think we'd ever see that.
Okay, so there you have it from the Football Guys show. We actually have somebody here on Grinders Live who wants to start Jordy Nelson over Devontae Adams, who's pretty cheap and who's got the epic matchup this week. I'd even like Randall Cobb better on a points per dollar basis. There are very few players that I wouldn't like better than Jordy Nelson at this time, who is only, even at $4,400, has still only 3x that salary 30% of the time this season. I'm sure all coming during times whenever Aaron Rodgers was still part of that offense. Seige, I just don't know, man.
I get it if you're playing like
how do
teams.
you get it? Oh, all right.
Like if you're playing 100 teams and you want to play them on 2 or 3, I get it. But I would just much rather have a ton of Devontae Adams personally. He's been the number one for a while now. Like I feel like everyone's still scarred from his rookie season, where like they all hopped on and they threw touchdowns to who was that guy who was like
James Jones.
James Jones. And like I remember James Jones wasn't in the player pool, and I was so tilted in Vegas. It was
in that week 1 game.
Yeah, he wasn't in the play. I literally
he had like 3 touchdowns.
I played on
after the Giants cut him or something, right? The Giants cut him.
The Giants cut him and they signed him, and it was before now the rules have changed. Like he would have been eligible, but at the time he wasn't. And I loved him. He would have been 3K, and I would have had 100%. He had like 6 catches for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. But to get to that point, like I think people are still scarring Devontae Adams from that. He's clearly a number 1 at this point. And I'm going to go ahead and play him at 6,500. We just saw what Julio did last week. And they could have put 4 guys on Julio, and I got to be honest, it probably wouldn't have changed one thing. They're all that bad.
Yeah, I love Devontae Adams this week. I even kind of there's something swindly that I like about Randall Cobb. If you had the over/under on 2 segments till the props talk got started around here, go ahead and take your checks up, take your tickets up to the counter. Randall Cobb at 3,900 this week. Roster Watch has as the number 1 match for the week. He has a reception. He has a 4 reception prop, and he's plus 200 to score. 42.5 the over/under on the receiving yards. So that's 2.63x on that 3,900. That is, I have now 67 props up. That for on a points per dollar prop is the 5th best of them all. So I even have a little sneaky feeling this week about Randall Cobb. With that said, I'm not sure I'm going to be paying him because there are other guys, one guy with an even better prop that we'll get to in that exact same price range that I'll be very interested to hear see.
The Mazda lineup of SUVs will provide safety, performance, and capability on your journey ahead. From the 3-row Mazda CX-9 to the first ever Mazda CX-50, our sales team is ready to guide you to the SUV for your lifestyle. Shop the Omaha Metro's exclusive Mazda dealers at Woodhouse Mazda in Bellevue or Woodhouse Place Mazda. Visit us online for your next Mazda SUV at woodhousemazda.com. The Mazda lineup of SUVs will provide safety, performance, and capability on your journey ahead. From the 3-row Mazda CX-9 to the first ever Mazda CX-50, our sales team is ready to guide you to the SUV for your lifestyle. Shop the Omaha Metro's exclusive Mazda dealers at Woodhouse Mazda in Bellevue or Woodhouse Place Mazda. Visit us online for your next Mazda SUV at woodhousemazda.com.
Ideas about, and also, of course, we already talked about Josh Reynolds, and we have the Raiders. What do you think of the Raiders, guys? Are you playing any of them? We didn't have any takes on them. Any
Jared
Seth
Cook,
Roberts?
I think, is the play, right? Like,
oh god,
Seth Roberts is awful, and Jared Cook has had a monster target share all season, and he's been playing good. And the Giants are awful against tight ends. Like, isn't the answer just Jared Cook?
Yeah. I mean, until last week. I mean, with Vernon Davis, that whole God, that still tilts me.
He had a block the whole time. Like, he ran like no routes. That was just in retrospect, I wish I had thought about that more. But it was Thanksgiving, not paying attention, and
drunk.
Next thing you know, you're like, wait a minute, like he has to block, and now Paul's going to run all these routes because he can't block. And
right.
In retrospect, I wish I had that one back, but it happens.
Well, here's the thing: I don't care who, dude. Garrett Selleck, Garrett Selleck looked like he was some kind of Travis Kelce against these idiots. I mean, you're going to get Jared Cook in there with no Amari Cooper, with no Michael Crabtree. Seth Roberts he's in the slot, so he'll get DRC.
Seth Roberts might not even be in the slot anymore. He might have to play outside.
It's going to be Cordero and Johnny Holton outside, don't you think? Maybe they'll put Seth Roberts outside. It's kind of hard to tell.
Cordero, I think Cordero's questionable. He's not a lock to play.
Oh, really? Okay.
Pretty sure.
I need to look more. I need to look more into that. Like I said, I'm a little bit less prepared with the early start for this show, but I didn't get a chance to look over the news of the inactives this morning before we came on. But
yeah, he's questionable with a hip. So we'll see.
Does it say on there if he practiced? Like, did he? Because he got in a limited practice, I thought, at least on.
Yeah, he got limited practice, so he'll probably play. But it's not still like he's not. If you have Cordero, who's like a guy who you count on your burst and agility, and he's got a hip injury.
Yeah, that's right.
That's kind of a red flag.
It's a Jared Cook deal. Yeah,
it's just Jared Cook. Like that's the play for me.
I like Jared Cook too. I mean, I like him a great deal. There's a couple more tight ends that I really like. Maybe we can talk about them here after a while before we. But yeah, in short, I hate the Jordy Nelson call. I'll have none of him. I think Tip and Pick though. I've seen that show before. I think he's a big tournament guy. So
he's super sharp. So being against him is not exactly the place you want to be a lot. But I think
except for
there's a reason why this is his first appearance on our show, and it's week 13. So.
Absolutely not. I remember laughing my ass off at his horrible Kendall Wright take in week 1.
Okay, that's a fair point. Okay, second time on this show.
Right, where he guaranteed 10 targets and said he was putting him in 100% of his life.
I remember that. Oh my God, I remember. I remember Left Bell week. I remember when you tried to troll me with my own Left Bell take.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. Well, it's been a lot of success this year. Also, a lot of pain and misery, as is typically the case with fantasy. Okay, let's get to the next one. Another real sharp guy here. This one comes from the DFS Pick 6, the Roto World DFS Pick 6 with Rich Rebar, Evan Silva, and Eric Crane. This is a take from Evan Silva, where he is actually on board with all these takes I feel like are bad so far. He's on board with a horrible quarterback.
We talked about another guy we talked about one guy who hasn't played in 3 years. How about another guy who hasn't played in 3 years? Geno Smith. Y'all ready? Y'all ready? 4,500 on DraftKings, 6,000 on FanDuel, facing a historically bad Raiders defense. Everyone wanted to play Paxton Lynch. But did he throw for 20 yards last week?
You know who I played last week? I played the Raiders defense.
Okay.
That seemed like a better play. Paxton Lynch. Here, let me look at Paxton's old
Simeon kind of screwed you late because he came
but we still did okay. Let's see. Okay. Paxton Lynch last week, he was 9 of 14 for 41 whole yards, plus the interception where it bounced off like 3 different guys and landed on a guy's belly in the end zone.
Yeah, how about getting their first interception of the year on accident?
I mean, when it's gone 12 weeks without an interception, I think whatever one
variant struck.
Yeah.
Because the guy was laying on his back and it just dropped onto him.
Yeah.
I think Geno Smith can have a good game. Did you guys play him last year when he got the start against the Ravens?
I did. I remember everyone did.
Yeah, he kind of balled out for a minute and then he tore his ACL during the game. But I mean, balling out, he
Nuno had like an 80-yard slant. I remember house like an 80-yard slant.
It was a long, It was an Nuno score, but it looked like it was going to be the nut play for a minute. I was like, yes, I was celebrating.
The Geno to Quincy and Noon was stacked. Like if you went there, bravo.
Yeah. Evan Ingram. Sterling Shepard is coming back this week. But, I think that the guy that you probably stack Geno with would be Evan Ingram. I don't know. It seems like you guys aren't even taking Geno very seriously. Shame on you.
Okay. Well, there it is. Evan Silva, one of the sharpest guys in this whole space, is now apparently on Team Geno Smith for this week. Geno Smith, I think – is he? Are they traveling west or is Oakland traveling?
They're traveling west, so it's a 4 p.m. kickoff. It's on the West Coast, so this is one of the
against an Oakland Raiders defense that, as Siege called out last week, was set to wake up a little bit. Finally, got their first interception last week.
Talk about one of the biggest flukes of all time. By the way, did you see that?
Yeah. Also, but I mean, was it five sacks? So clearly, a defense that rebounded some last week, somewhat predictably. I guess if you were predicting them bouncing back last week, that you'd probably say that there's a chance of it happening this week. I mean, Geno, he's not as bad as Paxton. I don't know. What do you think, Siege?
Geno Smith is better than Paxton Lynch. Let's start there. Like, I think if you played Paxton Lynch last week and don't play Geno Smith this week in tournaments, I think you're doing it wrong. Like,
I think you're doing it wrong if you didn't play Paxton Lynch last week.
No, I'm just saying, like, if you played him last week, like, if you took the approach the Raiders defense sucks, and then you don't take it with a guy who is a better quarterback at a cheaper price this week, you're doing it wrong, right? Like, I didn't play Paxton Lynch last week, so, but, like, obviously I was on the Raiders defense. I like Geno a little bit here. The Raiders have their own problems on the offensive side of the ball, as we kind of just mentioned on the last segment. Like, well, here's the thing with Geno. I know where the ball's going, right? Like, it's going to Sterling Shepard and it's going to Evan Ingram. It's a really, really, really easy stack to build. The Raiders defense still has problems. Like, their problems didn't just get all solved by firing the defensive coordinator.
I just don't know why you're going to play Evan Ingram this week. There's so many tight ends.
That's the thing. There's a ton of tight ends. I'm just saying, like, I know where the targets are going, right? Like,
Yeah.
So if you think this game turns into a shootout, like, would you be surprised if this game was 21-21 at the half? Like, I wouldn't be. Like, both these defenses are terrible. The game could be 0-0 at the half as well. I think there's a wide range of outcomes.
I think I'd be a little bit surprised. Boy, if it was 21-21 at the half, I'd love access to that box score to see who scored those three touchdowns for each team at the beginning. But because I have no idea who's going to score for Oakland. I really don't. I have a hard time figuring out how this game's going to go, how the script of this game's going to go.
I mean, Marshawn Lynch is the answer to your question.
Would you love Marshawn this week?
I do.
So do I.
Yeah, so I think he's the guy. I think, like they showed last week, like they've been kind of, to their credit, like they've been kind of limiting his workload and like, okay, now it's December. We got to get you 25 touches a game. We got to get you rolling, and I think it's going to work.
I don't think that's the only reason. I think it's also like, what the hell are we going to do?
Right, I agree. I mean, that's the other factor.
We don't have Cooper. Like, just hand the ball to beast mode, right? I mean, it's kind of why we got him. Maybe we should have been doing this stuff all along.
Yeah, he couldn't have survived if they'd done it all season long.
He wouldn't have.
I think it's a good spot for him. But to get back to the question at hand, I think I'll have some Geno in tournaments this week. It's the upside. It's such an easy stack. It's just such an easy stack. And like Sterling Shepard against the 49ers was super chalky at like 6K or 58, whatever it was. Why is he going to go unowned against the Raiders at 7K? Like, the spot is basically the same, if not better. So, like, I don't understand why the whole world's just off Shepard. Like, he's still a target beast. Like, that hasn't changed.
It's just too much. There's too much to worry about, man. Like, it's a different quarterback. Is Geno? I mean, is it basically Eli? Is it kind of the same? I mean,
I think so. I don't really think there's a huge drop off.
I guess if you think about it like that, you can put it in those terms, I guess. But then you also have the fact that he probably doesn't have that much of a connection with Sterling Shepard. Sterling Shepard's been a first teamer ever since he got there. It's not like he's been working out with the twos and working out a bunch with Geno Smith.
I'm sure Geno's got some snaps with the ones. It's not like
do you think Geno Smith?
Eli Manning seems like one of those guys who's not taking every practice rep.
Yeah, that's true. But it makes me think, man, maybe just keep an eye on some kind of sneaky Travis Rudolph or something like that. It's always one of the – it's
too many guys. There's too many guys like Roger Lewis, or you just don't know which one it's going to be.
But it's always one of those guys, though. Whenever a backup comes in, that's the backup.
Again, for me, it's a situation. I just think that Geno is too talented against the Raiders at 4,500 to completely ignore. I mean, I'm not saying make him a core player, or anything, but like I think if you're playing like 10 teams, you got to have one Geno.
Takes too many sacks for me. Holds on to the football too long. I mean, there are things about Geno that's
what he did 2 years ago. We don't know what he does now.
I think he probably still does, but we'll see.
Probably. But again, tournament upside isn't about probably. It's about like what's the ceiling. If we're wrong, like what if he's good? Like what if he's like, let's just say he's like let's think of like a mediocre quarterback. Let's say he's like, I don't know.
How about Tom Savage?
I was gonna say that. I didn't want to like. Let me see if I can just pull like a mediocre quarterback. Like, let's say he's let's say he's Case Keenum or Alex Smith.
Keenum's been good.
I like Case Keenum. I shouldn't have said that. Let's say he's like Alex Smith. Like, if he's that competent at 4,500, he's gonna put up some points.
I don't think he's as competent as Alex Smith. Alex Smith has been a long time.
If he's Josh McCown. Like, I just think the road is there. It's not hard to get a lot of fantasy points at 4,500. It really against a terrible defense. That's all.
I get it. I get it. I mean, I'm not going to click on it. I will pay up a little bit extra to get up to a McCown, to get up to a Tyrod, players like that.
I think I'll save this. I'll save the money, but I get it.
Okay, let's move on to this next clip. This one is one that I think Siege and I inexplicably might kind of disagree on. It's a take that's hot enough that when he made it, it was actually comes from the Daily Fantasy OGs, and the head chopper, man, Chop knew that this was going to end him up on this show to have this take. This is about getting off of a wide receiver that everybody's going to be flocking back to this week.
No one's playing him.
You don't think anybody's playing him after 10 targets last week? Our sweetest angel? All right. Well, hey, maybe if not, maybe I'll feel a little bit differently about this play. Let's see what Chop had to say about it.
For Jacksonville, I do like Leonard Fournette. Sure, why not? Would never play Blake Bortles ever in my life again. I'm never going to play him, so that's not even a question.
Oh, come on, man!
Can't do it,
You're
man.
writing him off completely.
Can't do it. And in fact, do you guys watch that DFS weekly roundup show on Saturday with TheSeige and Alex Dunlap?
I catch it when I can.
It's a pretty good show. So I got one that I'm pretty sure that they're going to put on this week here. That I'm about to break it down for them. People are actually going to play D.D. Westbrook this week when Marquise Lee is only 1,100 more on DraftKings. I think that's a colossal mistake. If I was going to go with a wide receiver in this game for Jacksonville, easily would be Marquise Lee. I don't even think it's a question mark, and I'll gladly sit back and watch people burn their lineups with D.D. Westbrook this week.
Oh, Chop bringing the heat, man. Bring cash game play, Marquise Lee.
I don't like the passing game for Jacksonville at all, but if I did it in GPPs, it would be Marquise Lee.
All right, Alex Siege, there you go. Got a hot take for you, all wrapped up and delivered by Chop. So
I know Dunlap really likes the Westbrook kid, and I saw him at Oklahoma too. He's got talent, but man, he's not with Marquise Lee just yet. He's not on that level.
Okay, there you have it. That one comes from the Daily Fantasy OGs. Great podcast with Head Chopper, Beer Makers fan, and Notorious that comes out pretty early in the week, I think on Wednesdays. And yeah, man, Chop knew, man, right off the bat, that was going to be a topic that could be a little bit divisive. Siege and I were talking off air about ownership between these two guys, but Chop was saying that Marquise Lee is going to be a guy that everybody's forgotten about because last week he was facing Patrick Peterson. Marquise Lee has been he's been a G all year long. You look, people haven't been playing him much because he's always been questionable all week. He doesn't practice and he goes and just has a big game. This is going against an Indianapolis Colts secondary that now is not only without Vontae Davis, but looks to be without Rashawn Melvin too, who was coming on in a really big way. I can't believe it. There's a ton of Jacksonville Jaguars that I love this week. And I kind of like Chop's take that Marquise Lee is going to be probably far less owned than D.D. Westbrook, and that he could end up this week being the superior option. I think he has every opportunity to be. And this comes from the original D.D. Westbrook truther, man. I think he's the same.
I don't think you get to call yourself the original truther when he has this kind of production so far this season, and you're backing off. Like
I'm not backing off.
You're backing off. What do you mean you're not backing off?
I think it's reasonable. Marquise Lee's only 5,200. Let's see where Jamino has Marquise Lee's. He has Marquise Lee at 7.5. He has D.D. Westbrook at 10%. So I guess that.
I guess for me, like, I get it. I get why you would play Marquise Lee. I just don't know if it would be at the expense of D.D. Westbrook. Like, this guy is a freak. Like, he's a top 15 pick if he wasn't a knucklehead off the field.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's absolutely true.
All he's done is, like, his target share is basically like the same as Antonio Brown's through 2 games. Like, remember the first week, they're like, oh, we're going to ease him into the offense. He's not going to be a focal point. Picked up 6 targets. The next week, 10 targets. Like, they're gonna to win in the playoffs. You need a number one, and as much as I like Marquise Lee, he's never going to be a true number one. D.D. Westbrook can be that guy. I just don't think those targets are going anywhere. Like the Jaguars haven't been able to run the football with any success now for a month and a half. For me, it's a situation like I like D.D. Westbrook more. I think he's the better talent at the cheaper price, and if ownership's going to be the same, I understand that Lee has the better cornerback matchup this week, but. For me, it's going to be D.D. Westbrook more than Lee, but I don't hate Lee.
I don't hate Lee either. I mean, it is D.D., dude. And this secondary
for what it's worth, too, if Pierre Desir covers Marquise Lee, I really want D.D. Westbrook.
Do you think this year's good?
I think he's good enough. Like he's certainly not. He's not Kenny Moore. Let's rephrase that. If he's not Kenny Moore, like
right.
The matchup if Kenny Moore is on Lee could just go insane.
Lee's too slinky, man, and Desir, I remember him his Senior Bowl. He's just a little too stiff I don't know, man.
I agree it's too stiff, but I like Kenny Moore. I mean, Marquise Lee will just run right by him. Like that, this will not work.
So I think I'm fine with either. I think I'm fine with either one. So here's the thing: if I'm fine with either one, does that mean I'm fine with Blake Bortles?
I think there's too many good value quarterbacks this week. I don't think you have to take that jump.
But I mean, if we like Dede and we like Marquise Lee, wouldn't we in turn kind of like Bortles? Or is there too much risk there that
there's too much risk, and it's also like the receptions. We like these guys because of the high reception yards after catch ability. Like quarterbacks get to tournament value through touchdowns. Wide receivers can get to tournament value through yardage. Like these are two high yardage guys. Right. So I think it's a situation where we don't have to be in love with Bortles given the value.
Let me just point out one thing. I do think that a lot of the huge amount of target equity that Dede Westbrook has gotten over the course of the last 2 weeks falls, at least the 10 of those targets, the 10 of those 16 total targets do come as a little bit of a function of the targets being funneled to him with Patrick Peterson over there on Marquise Lee. So
why though? Like he had 6 the first week. Like if he had 6,
I understand. And we pegged him on this very show last week as having 8 targets in that game. We said you got to get him in. You got to get him in. We got him into all of our lineups. I know. It turned. He had value just fine on his salary of $3,600 last week. It's the exact same situation that I am jamming Josh Reynolds into this week. So yeah, I just know that situation last week was one that did hinder Lee and did help Westbrook. With that said, I mean, I can see where Chop's coming from. I can see where you're coming from. I think I'm going to, across my tournament lineups, I'm going to probably have a little bit of both of these guys.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
Okay, let's go ahead and get on to the next clip. If I can pull up my note sheet here that tells me which one's which. This one comes from the Swolecast, and this is from Mr. Tuttle, who's always super sharp on that show. Last night on the Swolecast, he had a take about going back to a running back that nobody's going to be on because he has been certifiably crappy for the last 7 weeks.
All right, Tuttle.
I don't want to be the one to say it.
Say it, Tuttle.
But with the West news today, I think you have to at least look a little bit.
He's got a nice price tag on DK.
He's got a very nice price tag at $6,900.
Such a Tuttle play.
the West news is big, man. I mean, it really is big.
It boosts his receiving floor a little bit. Boosts just the floor that he'll actually be on the dang field, which is good. Nobody's gonna go there. Well, some people might go there now since his price is lowered. But people have been so burned by Hunt that I don't know how many people will go back to the well. Should see some lower ownership. I think he's in play at his price tag.
All right, well, there you hear it. Mr. Tuttle saying at 60, how much is Kareem Hunt this week? 6,900, that it could be the time to go back now that everybody's going to be off of him. I don't know, Siege, do you think here's the thing. I've heard a little bit of talk about the possibility that maybe more people are kind of getting on Kareem Hunt here as the week has progressed, just realizing that price is a little bit cheaper. I'm looking at Jamino's ownership projections right now. It looks like he has him at sub 10%. So certainly a far cry from the 25 and 30% we were seeing him as in some of those matchups earlier where he totally swindled some of us. What do you think? Any interest this week?
No. I mean, I've been on the fade Kareem Hunt on this show since like week 5. And why would I stop now? Like, Andy Reid's an idiot. That offense just isn't moving. That offensive line can't block anymore. Like, none of the situations have changed that are magically going to make Kareem Hunt. Now, can he break off a big play at any time? Sure, he can do that. But the idea that he's going to get the rock 25, 30 times a game is just a pipe dream. It's not reality.
I just feel like it could be the troll job, man. Like, do you remember the week after? Which week was it after the Rex Burkhead chalk and he went off for the
last week? And that I told you this. I told you it was Rex last week too. Like,
yeah, I know. And there was more analysis behind that take than just saying it's going to be a troll job. But I just feel the Kareem Hunt troll job coming.
You know what the troll is going to be when you see Hunt walking the end zone and it's a Keem Hunt. You're gonna lose your mind.
Well, that's a good point. There is no Charkandrick West this week. Any thoughts about that? Do you think that 30% of snaps just are going to go automatically to Akeem Hunt? Akeem Hunt sucks, by the way.
I know he is, but he's going to get 25-30% of the snaps.
If so, man, if so, can we ship Andy Reid off to Coconut Island?
I wanted to shut him up.
I just never come back.
I mean, I'm telling you, it's going to happen. You know it's going to happen. You know deep inside it's going to happen.
Talk about a troll.
It's Andy Reid. He always plays multiple running backs. You know it.
I need Kareem Hunt badly this week for one of my highest stakes.
It's not going to happen. Don't count on it.
Unbelievable.
You're like Lucy in the football at this point with Kareem Hunt. Like, oh, I promise I won't take it away this week. All my running backs are gone.
Yeah.
Boom.
And there's all of these runners who are so cheap,
That are good, like Lynch and Jamal Williams, who we never talked about.
Carlos
Howard. Like, why? Like, I mean, if you're gonna take a YOLO play, take Fournette. And that's coming from me.
I plan on taking Fournette. We can talk about that one a little bit later. I thought that you might hate him this week, and I might be able to get some kind of bet before he goes absolutely ham.
I mean, I don't think he's going to go ham. If you think he's going to go ham, I'll probably still wager with you. But, like, I would rather YOLO that. But he's starting to creep up, too. Like, there's a guy people are hopping on late. But, again, that situation is still the same. That situation hasn't changed. Like, he's only going to get 60% of the workload. Max.
All right, there are clearly a couple of things that I'm going to need to go over with Siege here. So let's go ahead and get through the rest of these takes. This one comes from the Experts Square Table with JM to win and Adam Levitan. This is a stack that I generally normally all indicators would point to me loving this stack, but this week I don't. And the quarterback involved in this stack is somebody that JM to win says is a lock and load in your lineups.
I think that Jameis, we'd have to call him the most underpriced quarterback on this slate. He threw the ball 38 or more times in 5 straight healthy games before going down. He topped 300 yards in 4 of those 5 games. So to get that at 5,600 without Doug Martin, without an offensive line that can run block anyway, against a team that's top 8 against the run and bottom 5 against the pass, it's just a perfect spot for Jameis. It's a perfect spot to use Jameis and Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson together. I like Jameis quite a bit. Hundley, I don't think that we need to go there for 500 less. I mean, we could talk about his rushing upside, but the dude is top 22 rushing yards only once. So you're looking at 1 or 2 points there. I mean, that's the same thing you're going to get from Trevor Siemian is 10 to 20 rushing yards. So the matchup's obviously excellent. I think that Hundley could put up 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. But I think that Jameis is like the lock and load play. He's the guy to use in cash games. He's the guy to feel most comfortable with in tournaments. And just like you, yeah, I think there's a lot of cheap guys I'd be comfortable using. I don't think there's a need to pay up. We can get 15 to 20 on the cheap end, and then you pay up for 20 to 25. So really like paying down this week. I like Jameis the most out of all these guys, but there are a few other guys down here that I like as well.
All right, Siege, maybe you could tell me what I'm missing. But look, I know that the Green Bay secondary is terrible, but JM to win there in that segment was saying that Jameis Winston is basically a lock and load. I think he's 5,400 on DraftKings, and he's saying that he's saying to stack him. Mike Evans, D-Jax, Jameis Winston, and I get it because I kind of like the idea of bringing that back with a Devontae Adams. Like there's some good options to maybe bring that back with. I can see the stack. I just don't. Why is nobody talking about the fact that Jameis Winston has a broken shoulder and he has 2 linemen out?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if the shoulder's broken. But
you know what I mean? A busted ass shoulder and 2 linemen missing.
Yeah, I mean, it is a bad recipe. I do like Mike Evans and Brait more as if I need them to do something to keep the Packers rolling. I'm with you though. I think Jameis is in a weird spot this week where I think people aren't evaluating the risk with him correctly. If he takes a bad hit, they might speak, yeah, you know what? We're 4-7. We're not making the playoffs. Ryan, buddy, go out there and take these hits. This is what we paid you. Right. So for me, I think that's definitely a situation where I would personally stay away at the quarterback position. I think there's other pivots in that range I like more. But I don't hate Evans and Brait. Even if Jameis gets benched or whatever, those guys aren't dead. I guess Brait kind of is, but he's 2,900, and we know Jameis loves him in the red zone.
if we look at the early props that I have up over at Roster Watch for our pro members, out of the 70 that I have up so far, Mike Evans with the 9th best point per dollar prop on DK, which is the 3rd best matchup through the matchup tools algorithm at Roster Watch. He's only 7,100 this week, and his prop is 5.5 receptions for 79.5 yards. He's plus 120 to score, so that's projected scoring of 18.18 by Vegas, 2.56x value. That's actually tied for 8th. The other guy who Siege mentioned, who's also in this game, where he talked about Randall Cobb having a good prop on the other side, but the best of the week, who Siege mentioned off air, or maybe it was while we were talking about some of these value running backs, is at 4,500, Jamal Williams versus Tampa Bay. His prop is for $4,500 is insane, and it makes me think that maybe some of these offshore folks might know something that we don't about Aaron Jones' availability tomorrow, because
Aaron Jones isn't a factor at this point, I don't think.
62.5 rushing yards, 2.5 receptions for 21.5 receiving yards is the over-under, and touchdown odds of one place had him at 100, one place had him at 110. So I put it at 105. That's projected scoring, somewhere between 13.76 and 14 points on DK. That is right around 3.06x value, the best value based on these early props of all 70 that I've gotten in so far. Siege, first, I guess we have already kind of covered it about Jameis. I mean, any interest in Jameis, or are you just going to go to? You talked about going to Keenum and stuff, maybe.
Yeah, I talked about Keenum. I like Case Keenum a lot this week. That's probably where I would go in that kind of price range. Jamal Williams is one of the best values on the board. I don't even hate going Hundley, Jamal, and Devontae stacked. Now the problem is that's when you have to run it back with a Mike Evans or a Brait. So then you really got to go like, is Tampa going to score enough points? I mean, I think you don't think Tampa's going to put up many points this week. So like, that would be my concern, is if you don't think that Tampa's going to put up points, then that's probably not the stack for you. But I don't hate it if you're a little more bullish on the Tampa offense, for sure. You want to talk about Case Keenum? I mean, this is just a dream spot. Like with Trufant out, like Diggs and Thielen are just going to have a field day.
Well, everybody always loves Diggs and Thielen. I mean, what's not to like? What's not to this running? Look, Latavius. I don't care what anybody says about Latavius Murray's fantasy production. That guy sucks. Jerick McKinnon. I mean, he's okay, and you can definitely get to Atlanta by using the passing running back. But in using a passing running back, that's going to be more points for Case Keenum. I think it's fine. My sole concern with Case Keenum is that despite the fact that he's been awesome. Every week, dude, they have to make a damn announcement saying he's still the starter.
I mean, would you change it? Like, given what he's done every week, they say that. Would you stop saying that?
No, but no, that's what I'm saying. At some point, what I'm saying is that there's a disconnect there. At some point, like with the way he's been playing, it should go without saying that he's the starter. So where's the organization?
Is there a disconnect, or is it just like, again, they're saying the media, like, yep, he's our guy. Like, he's gonna be our guy this week. Like, what's the disconnect there? Like,
because Zimmer loves Bridgewater.
That's fine.
He has an unrealistic love for Bridgewater, and I think if there's the first sign of trouble,
there's no way. There's no way.
You don't think? Come on. Of course, there's a way. Of course, there's a way.
You're 9-2. How can you bench your quarterback? You're 9-2.
Because it's Bridgewater. I think it's an unhealthy obsession that fan base and that coaching staff.
This is how the Patriots win Super Bowl after Super Bowl, is teams doing stupid stuff like this. They're 9-2 and they're contemplating a quarterback change. It's unbelievable. Like, there's every good team out there, and like Bill Belichick just puts his little fairy dust on the team and be like, we're 9-2. We've got this division on lockdown. Let's change our quarterback. That sounds like a great idea.
I just to me it feels like it was on the table as of no less than three weeks ago. It just seems to me like the fact of the matter is that situation, that idea has been broached. It's out there. It's in the ether that it could possibly
How
happen.
bad would he have to play in the first half to exactly get
two interceptions?
You think that's all it would take?
Yeah.
I mean, he threw 2 picks in the Washington game.
In a half. I think if he threw 2 picks in one half, he would get pulled.
And this guy's a cute, like his quarterback rating is 96.2.
He's been good. I think that
He's at a 102.7 quarterback rating in their wins this season.
I think everybody that surrounds that Minnesota Vikings organization, including their fans, have an unrealistic view of Teddy Bridgewater. I just do.
You know what? Like if Keenum gets benched as a 9-2 quarterback who's been throwing for 300 yards a week, completing 70% of his passes.
You'll just say that you'll go down with that shit.
I think I have to. Like, how could I not? Like,
do you like Keenum better than Josh McCown or Tyrod Taylor?
Yes, for sure.
Oh, like substantially better?
Yes.
Like 5 points better?
No, I wouldn't go that far.
With 3.5
point per dollar. If you like to do point per dollar, I'll give you point per dollar. But you're not getting 3.5 at quarter.
Come on, some kind of
point per dollar.
What about Tyrod plus 2.5?
You're not getting 2.5 points when they're 500 apart in salary. Out of your mind.
I'm just trying to give you action. All right. What about McCown plus the 2.5?
Just get point per dollar.
What is McCown's salary compared to Keenum's?
Keenum's $6K. McCown is 55, I think.
54. 50. Is he 55? I think he's 54.
It could be 55.
I'll take. What's Ty God? Is he 54?
55. He is 55. Ty God's 54.
I'll take Josh McCown.
All right. Booked.
Point per dollar. Booked.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see what. So it's Josh McCown versus Case Keenum. Let's hope for a in-game benching for Mr. Keenum.
No.
Teddy touchdown. Let's get in there.
That'd be one of the stupidest coaching decisions in the last 30 years of football. If they seriously do that. Like,
I don't think that they're going to do it, but they do have an unhealthy obsession with Teddy Bridgewater and unrealistic.
They don't know what they want. The problem is like they're too good to make this move. Like, I understand that you have to deal with the contract next year, but like, you can't just like punt a chance to win a Super Bowl to deal with a contract situation of someone that like we have no idea what that knee is. Like, and you really want to bring them back on turf? You really want to do that? Like the Atlanta turf of all things, you really want to do that?
Yes,
I can't imagine.
Skinny little knees. You don't want to bring him back on that turf.
No, I mean the Minnesota turf is a little different than the Atlanta stuff is like the NFC South. Like it's designed to be super fast, and if you twist it the wrong way, you'll tear up your knee. Is
that even turf up there? I thought that was some kind of natural kind of half.
It actually might be natural grass in there. You're right. That actually might be grass in Minnesota.
Or like at least something kind of like what they have in Houston, where it's kind of like some weird synthetic half and half.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you just real quick about another. Just I don't know what to think about this. Just another guy from the prop sheet. Sometimes these guys pop up. And he actually popped off in our model for our pro subscribers for the DFS cheat sheets and for the lineup generators at Roster Watch. What do you make of Dontrell Inman versus San Francisco at 3,900? He's got a great prop, 4 receptions for 45.5 yards and plus 175 to score at only 3,900. And he's got a lot of analytics kind of pointing. He's got a ton of targets lately, man. It's a terrific matchup for especially for opposing outside receivers. I don't think a lot of people will be on him because it seems like there's been a lot of steam picking up recently for Jordan Howard. And how many pieces of that Chicago offense do you really want? Any thoughts on Dontrell Inman? I know it's kind of gross, but
yeah, if I had any confidence that they would throw the ball 25 times, I probably would play him. But they could literally throw the ball 10 times in this game. We talked about
all the value runners that are available this week. I take it. Do you like Jamal Williams the best out of all of them? If there is no Aaron Jones, okay.
It doesn't matter for me. It doesn't matter if Aaron Jones is there or not.
If Aaron Jones is so you're telling me if Aaron Jones is a game time decision, I believe that is that a noon Central game? It's got to be. It is. Yeah. So it's a noon, or I guess 1 Eastern game. So we're going to know. You're telling me that if you have, say, 50% Jamal Williams or something like that in your tournaments, that you're not going to have some sort of deal where you're going to have to global player swap him out. You're just going to say, screw it. I don't care if Aaron Jones is in or not, even though he's a game time active.
I don't care.
You just don't think that he's going to be involved.
Not enough to over. Like Jamal Williams right now is probably 1,300 too cheap. So like if Aaron Jones comes in, like okay, so instead of being 1,300 too cheap or 1,500 too cheap, you're probably like 700 or 800 too cheap. Like there's still a lot of value there.
How has he looked so good in these last couple games? He looks so bad.
He looks so bad those first few games. I have no idea. Brett Hundley too. Like it was like it looked like something clicked for Hundley too. Like that Sunday night game. Like I think everyone was just ready to watch the first half and then like go to sleep early, and then everyone was like, "Wait a minute! Like the Packers are winning. What the hell?"
Right. Well, and it's also. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just like. Maybe Hundley really did just face some tough opponents to start. I'm not a Hundley believer yet. Are you interested? Are you interested in Hundley at all this week?
I mean, yeah, bits. Here's his quarterback rating by team. So 39.6 against the Vikings, which are very good. 39.9 against the Saints, which is a very good defense. 86 against Detroit, which is a mediocre defense. 110 against the Bears.
It's kind of good defense.
43 against the Ravens, which are one of the best defenses in football. 134 against the Steelers, who were pretty good up to that point. So, he basically has been awful against the elite defenses and good against anything else.
Kind of good against the ones that are middle of the road. And this one of these facing is by far the best matchup. I can't get talked on to Brett Hundley on this show, man. No way. I'm not gonna do it. I can't do it. But it could be donk, man. It could be just like.
No, it's just again, it's one of those situations. I think the rushing floor, I think people it's probably a little delusion on their head what it actually is versus what it is. So that's a factor too. Right. But with me being completely off Trevor Siemian at this point, who I really liked earlier in the week due to some off the field stuff with that Denver team, I just.
You're gonna drop that without any explanation.
I just that team. That team is just kind of a mess at this point. When you see a sharp move on Miami tomorrow, I promise you tomorrow morning you're gonna see that line move 4 points towards Miami.
Yeah, it could be some issues being passed around that Denver locker room. All right. Speaking of that game. Here's a guy who we didn't talk about yet. Another guy right there in that cheap running back tier. Where are you on Kenyon Drake with no Damian Williams? Running right up.
I was going to completely fade him. This is a guy I have to relook at, given the news that the Denver team might not be healthy.
Yeah.
I think I'm still going to fade. I think I'll take a Jarvis Landry stand. At a cheap price, PPR, going to run a lot of routes out of the slot. At 5,900, I think I'm going to.
Why do you want to do that, man? They're going to just move Chris Harris down into the slot. They're going to take their best defender. He loves guarding the slot. Why not just put him on Jarvis? I wouldn't do that. I don't know. I don't want Jarvis, dude.
I mean, Harris is nice, but how healthy is Chris? If it was 100% Chris Harris,
right?
But if he's 70% against Jarvis Landry in the Miami Heat, I want Jarvis Landry.
Right. What about Devontae Parker, the cheapest? He's 900 cheaper than he's been all season.
Yeah, I don't mind him. I think I'm going to have to find a Miami guy. I think a Miami guy is going to win someone a lot of money this week. So that's a game I had just written off, and now I have to really go reevaluate between now and Sunday.
I think Kenyon Drake is a fine play at 4,900.
Running backs against Denver are just a disaster. Why would you play him over Jamal or Marshawn?
I'm not going to. I don't know.
That's the problem. Yeah. And you would Danny Woodhead's 4,400 against Detroit. We didn't even talk about that.
I don't play Danny Woodhead these days, man. He's just Alex Collins is
Alex Collins is questionable. We don't even know if he's going to play.
I think he's going to play. He has a really nice prop.
But even if he plays, if he's not 100%, Alex Collins is a guy in Seattle. One of the reasons he got cut was because he kept getting hurt all the time.
No, I get it. Well, that and ball secure, the ball security,
right?
Camp,
which is still an issue for him,
right? But so I get it. I'm going to be considering Kenyon Drake. I know it's tough. Sledding against the.
By the way, before you go, where's Miami at versus tight ends in your rankings these days? We should do our weekly update.
Let's see. I'll pull it up just because I probably deserve this. Hey, and listen, it had to do with the personnel evaluation on Rashad Jones, but you were always right about the linebackers, and I should have listened. Let's see. So it's it was the Denver Broncos going to them. The matchup tool has it this week. God damn it, Siege. Yeah, we have it now as a top 5 matchup. So
Thank you.
So Siege definitely wins on that. You should have made a bet about it. So all right, our bet for the
that's one of those I knew I was so right, and it was just like, and the funny thing is that I faded Gronk the other week against the Dolphins too. Like
what did you think of the Rashad Jones touchdown last week though?
It was a nice touchdown for Rashad Jones. But,
yeah, but
the problem is Denver has no tight ends. By the way, I would. That's just a running joke. Let's be clear. I'm not saying play any Denver tight ends. Like I don't even know who the tight ends are. They cut AJ Derby. Like who is their tight end? I actually have no idea.
Is it
Virgil Green still?
No, I think it's Jeff. I think the guy getting the most run lately has been Jeff Hireman from.
I didn't even know he was in the NFL still.
From Ohio State, I think. Let me see. Let me just pull it up real quick before we get out of here.
Questionable.
Do you have it's Virgil Green got 51% of the snaps last week, and then Virgil Green 51% of the snaps, and I don't know. I can't see who the other is. Austin Traylor a tight end?
That's what it looks like. He had 4 targets against the Raiders and 5 the week before.
There you go. Get in Austin Traylor this week versus the Miami Dolphins.
No, please don't.
Do you have a bold call, Siege?
Oh, a bold call. I do need a bold call. Do you have one ready? I normally have one ready to go. I don't have one.
I normally have one ready to go too. I don't have it either. Let me just look at my prop sheet here.
All right, I got one. Case Keenum throws for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns this week.
Okay, I'll say what the hell? I'll say no. Josh Reynolds 5x.
That's not a hot take. Get out of here.
17.5 points out of a 3.5K guy.
Yeah, I guess it's a hot take. I just really agree with you. I really agree with the play. I just really agree. It's a hot take, I guess. I guess the guy has 5 career receptions. It's probably a hot take. Fine, I'll let you have it.
It's a fantastic play. This has been the Week 13 DFS Roundup. As always, great doing the show with you, Siege. Best of luck to you and your moms as you guys try and take down that Draft Alive final. You can find Siege on Twitter at TheSeige DFS. You can find all of his content here on RotoGrinders with his tournament tactics packages for NFL, MLB, and NBA. We're going to need to make a bet next week, Siege, where I'm getting killed so bad in NBA. We're going to make a bet where you give me a few months of tournament tactics, and I'll give you like a pro membership at Roster Watch or something if somebody loses. And then
high stakes.
And then you can find me, like I mentioned, at Roster Watch. You can find all my content with a pro membership at rosterwatch.com. Find me tonight on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio and on Twitter at Alex Dunlap NFL. So for the Siege, I am Alex. We are getting the hell out of here.
The Mazda lineup of SUVs will provide safety, performance, and capability on your journey ahead. From the 3-row Mazda CX-9 to the first ever Mazda CX-50, our sales team is ready to guide you to the SUV for your lifestyle. Shop the Omaha Metro's exclusive Mazda dealers at Woodhouse Mazda in Bellevue or Woodhouse Place Mazda. Visit us online for your next Mazda SUV at woodhousemazda.com.